I remember sitting with my degree apprenticeship offer and having no real idea what my day-to-day life would actually look like. I knew the company, the salary and the qualifications, but I had no clue whether it was really the right path for me. So now that I'm a year and a half in, I want to share what the reality has been like so that if you're in a similar position, you can make your decision with more confidence. Hi, I'm Liam. I'm a second year finance degree apprentice at Top Investment Bank, and I made this channel because when I was applying, I couldn't find many honest accounts of what being a degree apprentice is actually like. So if you're thinking about applying for a degree apprenticeship, currently in the process, or at the stage where you're deciding between this route and others such as university, this video is really just an honest experience of what the first year and a half has really been like. So, quickly to start, I'm going to briefly cover basics of a degree apprenticeship. While every degree apprenticeship is different, they all follow similar formats. Working 4 days a week at the firm which you've applied for, and on top of that, studying at uni for 1 day a week. Personally, I do online lectures with the University of Exeter, where we're working towards not only uni exams, but also industry qualifications, such as the CISI. Depending which industry you're in, depending what firm you're in, you might be working towards different qualifications or different uni degrees. It really just depends. Finally, degree apprenticeships are available in a multitude of industries. So we're talking law, we're talking engineering, tech. Personally, I do finance. So there's really a wide variety of choice depending on what career path you want to go down. So now I'm going to dive into what the day-to-day reality is. In the previous section, I mentioned that there's work days and study days. Just to start, I'll talk about the study days. I do an applied finance degree with the University of Exeter. And so at the start of my course, we spent 3 days down in Exeter, did a bunch of induction lectures, met our lecturers, kicked off the courses. And then following on from that, at the start of every module, the lecturer would come to us. So they'd come to our office and they'd provide a lecture to our cohort, and then there would be followed a series of online lectures through the weeks, which would be on Zoom. And finally, there would be a university exam. Mine were multi-choice. Following that, there'd be an assignment, which would be maybe like 3,000 words related to the unit which we just covered. So for example, our first unit was an introduction to securities investment, and we had what was called a market watch assignment, where we had to take up a fake investment account with £20,000 in it, and we had to invest that for 4 weeks and then reflect on it in our essay, what went right, what went wrong, and like why, based on the knowledge which we'd learned in our first module. So they can be really interesting. After the assignment, we would then have our CISI exams. So I know this is very unique to my degree, but our uni course was the same content as the CISI content. So we do our uni exam, and that would be the same content as what we do for our CISI exam. Only the CISI exam was a bit trickier. Pass rate of 70%, which made it a bit of a stumbling block because that was something that people had to pass to get on into second year. But obviously really manageable if you put the time and work in. Definitely not anything to stress about. Another aspect of the study day which isn't really covered is called OneFile. OneFile is almost like an online portfolio of the work which you've done in your apprenticeship. In order for the company to get government funding, they have to prove that the apprentices that they're bringing through their system are reaching a certain level. This is in the form of knowledge builders and context statements. So you have to knock off a certain number of knowledge requirements, skills requirements, and behaviour requirements. So throughout the year we'd be set tasks. We'd try and meet as many of the criteria as we can until right at the end, where we'd met each of these criteria. We then submit it to DSW, which is the accreditation agency, and there would be an hour-long chat with an assessor who would basically just assess that you were at the level of the apprenticeship. It's not too much to stress about because you'd quite a long time to do it, and all you're really talking about is what you've already done. However, it is something to keep in mind that you're not just doing university. There's also something on top of that, which means that even when you're in a lull of university, you're still quite busy on your study days. Now I'm going to dive into what work is like. My typical day would be I'd get in at 9 o'clock or 8:30. I'll do a number of morning reports. I'll have like a team meeting. I'll then work through a number of other reports and get through like email inquiries, basically just like BAU tasks. And then towards the afternoon I'll be working on projects. I'll be getting more into stuff that's like department wide, automation, which helped me to meet new people and also like tackle bigger problems. So since starting my role back in September 2024, a lot has changed. So when I came in, it was very manual. I guess when you come in as an apprentice, so they know that you have no real technical skills. You got no technical technical skills. Realistically, you've got limited interpersonal skills, so they'll put you into a role which is quite basic. You'll be doing basic things. However, as the year went on and as I grew into my role, as I got comfortable with what I was doing, you then start getting given harder things. You're able to really make an impact. The ways I personally was able to grow my role was through automations, using low-code software. So I'm not coding new things, but it was just sort of replacing my manual work with these automations, and then moving into trickier projects. Then I was able to find were a lot more rewarding. I was able to really make an impact with my work rather than just doing like the basic things. So really just sticking at it helped a lot, and it's really helped me to get my feet now, and I'm able to actually make quite a big impact at work, which is really nice to see. So now we've covered a bit about my degree apprenticeship, I now want to dive into some of the pros and cons that I've found from my first year and a half on the apprenticeship, and I'm really hoping that these might be something that you haven't thought of before. So to kick us off with some pros, one of my favourite things about moving out into this degree apprenticeship is the independence of moving out on my own and being financially responsible for myself. So one of the obvious pros is the financial side of things, and the reason why I've put this on my list is because having been able to move out of home, start renting down in Bournemouth, and being able to afford everything I buy and not having any debt, I feel like that's really important, especially when you're looking at how hard it is to actually pay off university debt, and just also being responsible for yourself. I feel like the fact that I can afford my lifestyle and know that everything I'm spending on, all the holidays I'm going on, I've earned that. That's quite a nice feeling. And like, whilst you do get that at uni, and you can be working jobs on the side, and I'm definitely not saying that people who go to uni aren't earning their lifestyle, but there is just something quite nice about how you can go on a degree apprenticeship and you can earn your way. I would also like to note that each degree apprenticeship is a different salary, so you won't necessarily have the same wage as I do. I'm on quite a comfortable wage, but minimum wage is quite low, so depending on what firm you're at, you might not be able to have the same opportunity that I've had. A second pro. So my main reasons why I was applying for a degree apprenticeship, and one of the main things that I enjoy on a day-to-day basis, is that you're able to solve real problems as opposed to just ones in a textbook. So when I'm at work and I'm improving processes or creating change for clients, those are like real world problems. I'm not just solving a problem for the sake of it. I'm solving a problem and I'm seeing the benefits of it. My workload is less because I've automated a lot of my processes. Or for example, if I'm helping out with another team, that is helping them. It's not just solving the problem for the sake of it, it's actually making change. And whilst you are in a big organisation and maybe you don't see the benefits of that change, it is quite rewarding, and you do get recognised for the work that you do, which is really quite satisfying. And then on top of that, the uni work, whilst it doesn't feed directly into what you do, you get a sense that what you're learning at uni is helping you broaden your understanding of the general concepts at work. So it won't change my day-to-day life, but having that knowledge does help you to understand a little bit more about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, which is quite nice. Because obviously the firm which you're at will have chosen the degree, and they'll have chosen that based on what they think people working in that role need to know. Another pro would be the fact that I've been able to move down here and just make lifelong friends. I think the nature of my apprenticeship, we've got 70 people in our cohorts. That's basically like a new year at school almost. And we've all moved down, well, most of us have moved down here. We're all doing similar things, which just means we have a lot in common with each other. And it's meant that it's actually been quite a nice and easy way to make friends. And like now I'm living with 3 other apprentices, and these people will be friends for life. And obviously you still get the uni, you still get the other routes, but I just want to stress that just because you're doing a degree apprenticeship doesn't mean the social life has to be bad. It's just going to be different. Your social life will be what you make of it. I definitely wouldn't turn it down because you want to have a freshers experience. Me and my mates, we go out quite a lot, we do quite a lot of the weekends, we go on holidays together. It really is just what you make of it. And obviously it's about who you meet as well, and I know I've got lucky. I'm really grateful for the friends I've made here. Yeah, that's definitely one of my favourite things so far. And then finally, the final pro, which isn't necessarily so much of a pro to me as it is a pro generally. A degree apprenticeship is the perfect opportunity to kickstart a career in the field which you're doing your apprenticeship in. So for me, finance When I roll off at the end, I'm going to have 4 years experience at a top investment bank. That's 4 years of solving real problems. That's 4 years of gaining experience. And more importantly, that's 4 years of networking around the bank, working out what it is they do in the different business lines, working out what work-life balances are in the different business lines, and really nailing down what kind of role I want to move into, and then hopefully being able to kind of make my path into that role. That is so much easier to do when you're on the inside, as opposed to on the outside where you're just applying for like schemes and they put you in like a random role. It means that when I roll off, I'll have the opportunity to really make a career for myself. So now I'm going to take it into the cons, which is similar to the last one, but it's that whilst it is perfect for finance, there aren't as many diverse opportunities to learn about different industries. So you almost end up tunnel vision down the route which you've gone down, and making that choice at 18 is really difficult. This is something I've struggled with. I don't know if finance is for me. It is a great career and there are so many opportunities, and I'm still just exploring those, so I may well change my mind, but the fact is that once you're down that route, you don't really get much opportunity to see other routes. One of the benefits of university is that you're studying a subject and you've got a couple summers to be doing internships and spring weeks, finding out about different industries, different ways of working, different opportunities. Whereas when you go down this route, you're sort of tunnel visioned into, okay, what's next? What's on the roll-off? Because the value of the apprenticeship is based on the fact that you can network into a good role after it. If you realise that you don't want to do finance, you're potentially in a worse position than someone who's been able to do a wide variety of things, just in terms of knowing what options are available to you. But at the same time, your experience will still matter. You've done 4 years at a finance firm, that won't count for nothing. That 4 years of tangible work experience, which others just simply won't have. And it means that if you know what you want to pivot into, and you know why you want to pivot into it, and you can explain that clearly, then I don't see why it should be a blocker. It's just about knowing what options are available to you, and I feel like the apprenticeship isn't as strong for that. So what I would say to round that off is, if you're looking to do a degree apprenticeship, make sure you're confident that you want to stay in that industry for like next 10 years. Make sure that's an industry which you are really interested in, genuinely, and don't take that decision lightly. A second con would be, and especially with my one at a big firm, you have limited control over your role within the firm. So I found that all 70 of us, we came to our induction week, and on day 2 we just got told which team we were going to be in, and that makes a massive difference. Like, everyone's lives would be completely different if they had been placed in a different team. The team which you're in 4 days a week for 8 hours, that's a lot of time, especially if you get put in a team which isn't of your interest. And it's hard because they obviously can't put everyone in like the really interesting teams. Like, people are in less interesting teams doing less interesting tasks. The most important thing is, regardless of what team you go into, just make the most of it. There's always room to grow, there's always things to learn, and whilst you are at risk of being put into a potentially less interesting role, if you prove yourself to be curious and hardworking, and if you make yourself somebody that people want in their team, then if you find a team that you want to move into, you will potentially be able to push for that. It is different between firm to firm. There's definitely not something I can promise is that you'll get to move teams. Some of them are like hard-coded, you're rotating every year. My one, it isn't, but definitely limited control over your role is an impact, and it's something that I didn't know was really going to be a thing. So finally, the final con would be the fact that you're living a very different life to everyone that you've gone to school with. Like, everyone who goes to uni, everyone who goes on a gap year, they're living a very different life to you. You're not really going to be a fresher. Like, let's just put out, you're not going to have a freshers week, you're not going to be able to go out Tuesdays, Thursdays. You have to grow up pretty fast. You're surrounded by people in their 40s with kids, and the expectations are that you're not going to just mess around in semester 1. You have to hit the ground running, because that first impression is so important. And so you can get quite jealous of your peers. When I joined, I was looking at all my mates in their freshers weeks and in their first semesters, I wish I'd gone to Glasgow Uni, we're just having a laugh right now. But I'd say it is worth it. Like, you can get a good balance. Like, I know my friends, we found a really good balance. We go out pretty much every weekend, and sometimes we're going out through the week as well, but not as hard, and have gotten to a point where I wouldn't really want to be going out more than that. I like the fact that through the week I'm able to be productive, I'm able to get stuff done. I get up early, I've done my day, I go to the gym. Like, I really like my routine. I really like knowing that I've done something with my days and not just like rotted, because I fear that if I was at uni going out every day I would be. And so whilst you are living a different life, if you stick it out, it can be worth it, and you will be doing a lot more than your peers if you put your mind to it. The final note on that is relationships. It can put a lot of strain on it. The fact that you're living a different life to your partner. If your partner's at university and you're on a degree apprenticeship, like, they're never really going to understand the difference. The fact that you're doing 9 to 5, the fact that you're not just available in the evening because you're just knackered from work. Like, it is really hard. So I definitely keep that in mind as well. So that actually rounds off my video. As you can probably tell, this is recorded a few weeks after, but thank you very, very much for watching to the end of my video. I really appreciate it. As you may be aware, this is my first ever video on the channel, and so I would just like it, if you guys have made it this far, to just let me know what kind of content you'd be interested in. I made this channel because I really just want to help people work out if the apprenticeship is the right option for them. It's something that I really wish I could have had that extra bit of guidance before embarking on mine. Just so you know you're making the right decision. Like, what you do after school is a massive decision, and it will impact the rest of your lives in ways that you can't even imagine. Like, if I'd chosen to go to uni, my life would be completely different. And so if I can just offer any sort of insight, anything that you just wouldn't have thought of before, just anything from my experience that's going to help, I would love to share it. So please get in the comments, let me know how I can help, and yeah, stay tuned for the next one. Thank you very much.